Story time. It's that time of year again, upgrade time. And just like you do every year, you put on your socks and shoes and you go drive down to your local Apple store and you barge in and you say you want the latest iPhone. But the problem is, there's three. What's up guys, Eric White here. Thank you for clicking on the video and let's just get right into it. As far as the iPhone XS goes, this phone came out on September 21st of 2018 after a long history of leaks and rumors about the phone. Now the most important spec that we have to talk about first and get this out of the way is the price, as you are going to be paying a very gorgeous drop dead penny for this phone right here. Now the base model, the 64GB version, starts off at $1,000 right off the bat and very quickly goes up to $1,400. Now, if we compare that to the iPhone XS Max, which starts off at $1,100 and then climbs up to a whopping $1,500 for the 512GB version, yikes. Now that got me thinking, what else could you buy for $1,500? A base level MacBook, a MacBook Air with Touch ID, a 2.3 GHz MacBook Pro, a Retina 4K iMac, a 512GB iPad Pro with Wi-Fi and cellular data, last year's 10.5-inch iPad Pro with 512GB of storage as well as Wi-Fi and cellular data, the Apple Watch 4 Hermes or Hermes edition, and about 2.8 Apple Watch Nike Pluses with GPS and cellular, but you know, just to put it in perspective. Point made. Moving on to the next important spec, and that is what you are actually getting with this phone. Now with this chip you will be getting the latest A12 Bionic processor, and basically to normal people that just means you're going to be getting a little bit faster performance, which is great, but if you are looking for a significant jump in performance, you're probably not going to see that in this model, as the jump from the iPhone X to the XS is just not that big. And if you are coming from the iPhone X, you will be sporting that same OLED screen that is absolutely gorgeous, I might add. As far as screens go, you will be sticking with the 5.8-inch screen that you saw on the iPhone X, and then if you do decide to jump to the iPhone XS Max, you will be getting a whopping 6.5-inch screen. Now if you are coming from an iPhone 8 or an 8 Plus or any generation below that, you are definitely going to appreciate the screen in the iPhone X as well as the XS and XS Max. The screens are OLED instead of LCD like the previous model, so you will see a little bit of a jump in resolution as well as clarity and vibrance inside of these phones. Now the camera is also upgraded with a little boost in HDR, and if you are coming from the iPhone X, you're probably going to be really thinking that this is worth it, and that's completely up to you. The HDR is noticeable and the pictures do come out better than previous models, but I don't know if it's $500 or even $1,000 worth of that jump. Obviously they've added features to make it a lot better in low light performance, but they've also added a small feature where it stitches together a lot of exposures and puts together one significant image, and that is to be determined by you if that's worth a $500 or even $1,000 jump in price. And this is where things get interesting, because this is where we move to the iPhone XR portion of this video. Now the iPhone XR is a really interesting phone. This one was released a little bit over a month after the XS was released on October 26th, after a long history of leaks and rumors as well. Now with this phone, you're still getting the A12 Bionic chip like I mentioned. You're getting one 12 megapixel camera instead of two. You are also getting Face ID, which I did not mention previously. You are still getting those features, but there are a few compromises that you have to be okay with. Now the first and a very controversial aspect about this phone definitely has to be the screen. Now the screen isn't terrible or bad by any means, but if you look at this aspect ratio, the 792 to 828, you can see that it doesn't quite add up to what you think a smartphone should be, especially for what you are paying. Now if you know anything about screens or just about in TV in general, you will understand that 828 seems very low, especially for a $750 asking price, and you would be right. But the thing you have to keep in mind is this is Apple. Apple's engineering team is one amazing team, and they have put off some amazing feats. And if you are having problems trusting the screen, I feel like it might not be up to par with what you want, I encourage you to go down to your local Apple store and look at the phone for yourself. I guarantee you there will be minimal or almost no flaws to it, and it'll get you through to what you needed to do for the day-to-day. And if you don't believe me, Jonathan Morrison did a really interesting video recently. He compared the iPhone XR to the Pocophone F1, which has a higher resolution of 1080p. He had a blind test where he taped over the bezel of the screen and had random people come in and judge which screen is better for them without telling them which phone was which. You would be very surprised by the results, and I encourage you to go watch the video. I'll leave a link down below for you guys. Now, the next compromise that you will be making is the camera, and it's not as big of a compromise as you think, as the jump from 2 cameras going down to 1 camera is the only real compromise, besides the fact that in portrait mode, you will not be able to use portrait on anything else besides a face. Meaning that if you try to take a portrait photo with anything that isn't a human face, the system will not detect a human face and therefore will not take the portrait photo. That means that if you try to use portrait mode on anything such as shoes, your hand, or anything where the camera sensor can detect a face, the portrait mode will simply not work. Now, another small thing that a lot of people aren't going to care about or even notice is the build material. The iPhone XR is made out of aluminum to account for all the colors and treatments that they have for it, compared to stainless steel, which is on the iPhone XS and XS Max. Now, as far as recommendations go, this is where things start to get a little bit interesting and why I don't just have one answer. Now, let me just say right now, if you have an iPhone X, it is not worth the upgrade to the iPhone XR for sure, and maybe not the iPhone XS. Now, if you do decide to trade in your iPhone X, Apple will give you $500. That means that you can get the iPhone XS at pretty much half off. Now, if the new camera with improved HDR and better night shots is worth $500 to you, then I would say go for it. But other than that, I don't think it's worth the jump right now. But if you are on the iPhone 8 Plus or 8, there's something very interesting for you. So if you decide to trade in your iPhone 8 Plus, you will get $350 off, and if you have an iPhone 8, you get $300 off. Now that means if you go into the Apple Store with a fully functional iPhone 8 Plus, the screen is still working, the buttons still work, it turns off and on, everything like that, you can get $350 off towards the iPhone XR, and that's where I see some real potential. Nothing wrong to the XS, but if you're on the iPhone 8 Plus and you just don't want to make the jump to the XS for whatever reason, the iPhone XR becomes a great buy. But like I said previously, it pretty much has the same stuff as the iPhone XS, as long as you're okay with the different build material, with it being aluminum instead of stainless steel like on the XS, if you're okay with the screen being LCD instead of OLED, and you're okay with the 1 camera instead of 2. But that's about it, guys. Whichever phone you go with, you're still going to end up with an amazing piece of hardware and you will enjoy both of them just as much. But that's it for me, guys. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure if you liked it that you almighty push that like button, and make sure if you like this video that you also go down and click the sub button and join Innovation Nation, and I will see you guys in the